Alright, this is lesson 9.1b, Intermediate Algebra, still working on rational exponents. And let's go ahead and continue with the examples. We're in example number, looks like 17. And we have 8 to the 2/3 power. And what they're asking us to do is simplify. Well, this can be written a couple ways. This can be written as the cubed root of 8 squared, or it can be written as the cubed root of 8 squared, like that. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. If we want to take the cubed root of 64, we have to find what number times itself 3 times gives me 64. Whereas this one over here, we can take the cubed root of 8 and get 2 and square it and get 4. So we get the same answer either way. It's just some ways are easier than others to solve. So we could write this as 8 to the, let's try this different. I'm just going to write it a different way. There's just all kinds of ways to do this, and you're just going to have to find the best way. Okay? That is like this one. Cubed root of 8, square it. Or I could write it as 8 squared 1/3, which is what we've got up here. So power rule says we can multiply those and then we'd get that back. Power rule says we multiply those and we'd get that back. So there's just a couple different ways of doing this. I suggest you find the way that you like best. I personally like 25 3/2 equals square root of 25 cubed. So I write it in radical form using 2 as my index, and then square root of 25 is 5 cubed equals 125. And I'm done. Some people would rather do it as, I'm going to cube 25, and once I do that, I'm going to take the square root of it. Well, that's fine, but I don't know what 25 cubed is. I can't do that in my head, whereas the one above it, I could do the whole thing in my head, and it was just a lot easier. Alright, let's look at the next one. 9 to the negative 3/2. Okay, again, all that negative means is that the 9 and the 3/2 are in the wrong place. So we'll put them down there and make them positive. Now I can write this as 1 over the square root of 9 cubed. Yuck, that doesn't look so nice. Okay, 9 times 9 times 9, and then take the square root. So what I'll do instead is I will write it as the square root of 9 and then cube it and get 1 over 27. See, I can do that in my head. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. Get the same answer. So you can do it however you want. You can do the square root of 9 cubed or the square root of 9 and then cube it. This way you're cubing first. This way you're taking the square root first. Doesn't matter to me which direction you go, but they're both right, but one's just easier than the other. Alright, let's look at another example here. 27 over 8 to the negative 4/3. Alright, so, golly, our negative sign means that both the 27 and the 8 are in the wrong place. So this is, let's go ahead and write it as 27 and 8 to the negative 4/3, because in the grouping here it says that both this and this get the negative 4/3. Okay, so because of this negative we're going to move it up, and because of that one we're going to move it down. So they're kind of like switching places here. Now the signs are positive, okay, which is always good. Alright, so let's continue on here. Cubed root of 8 to the 4th power, cubed root of 27 to the 4th power. Cubed root of 8 is 2. Cubed root of 27 is 3. 2 to the 4th power is 16. 3 to the 4th power is 81, and that cannot be reduced. And you're done. This is going to take a little bit of time to get this down. I mean, you watch me do this, and yeah, it doesn't look too terrible because I've been doing this for a million years. Alright, so let's look at example 21, x to the 1/3. I'm going to go ahead and make my pen smaller, writing these little exponent thingies, make it a little bit harder. Times x to the 5/6. Okay, so what do we do here? They're multiplied. Whoops, come on, Gary. I cannot make an x. Alright, x. 1/3 plus 5/6. Those are my exponents. Make common denominators. Okay, and you're done. Which is also equal to the 6th root of x to the 7th power. But we would never write it that way. That's too goofy. Alright, 22. Y to the 2/3 to the 3/4. That equals, I multiply those in this case, power rule, which means I don't have to find common denominators, which is always nice. And 6/12 reduces to 1/2. Alright, 23. We have z to the 1/3 over z to the 1/4. Remember, when you divide, you subtract exponents. And we need common denominators here. 4 minus 12. 3 equals z to the 1/12 power. Alright, let's jump to number 24 in the examples. I still think I'm going to need my pen smaller. We've got x to the -3, y to the 1/2 to the 4th power over x to the 10th, y to the 3/2. Okay, that looks pretty frightening, doesn't it? Alright, that's a 4, right? Alright, so let's go ahead and apply this to each of these. So, -3 times 4 is -12. 1/2 times 4 is 4/2, or I can just write it as a 2. And my hand went a little spastic on me on that 12. Let's rewrite the 12. Over x to the 10th, y to the 3/2. Okay, so what I do is I look for my common variables, and since they're divided, I subtract only the common ones. So I can't do that with the y, just the x's, and then I do the same thing with the y's. So now that gives me x to the -22, but the y is going to be kind of a pain. I've got to find common denominators, so that's going to be 4/2 minus 3/2. So x to the -22, y to the 1/2. I can leave it like that, or it says assume all variables represent positive. Okay, I can leave it that way, or I can move this to the correct location and move it down. And that would be my final answer. Okay, this is number 80. in the problem set. So let's go ahead and solve this one. We're going to distribute that 1/3 to everything. So we are going to write it as 27 to the 1/3, a to the 3 times 1/3, b to the 6 times 1/3. And we'll do the same with the bottom. 81 to the 1/4, a to the 8 times 1/4, b to the -4 times 1/4. Alright, let's look and see what we get on top. The cubed root of 27 is 3. 3 times 1/3 is 3 over 3, or 1, which I'm not even going to put a 1 up there. 6 times 1/3 is 6 over 3, which is 2. 4th root of 81 is 3. 8 times 1/4 is 8 over 4, which is 2. -4 times 1/4 is b to the -1. Okay, let's see if I'm missing anything. I don't think I am. 3 over 3 is 1, so they can cancel. This is a to the 1 minus 2, because there's a 1 there, so that we subtract those. The next part is b to the 2 minus -1. Okay, we could move this up there on top and make it b to the first power, but we could also just subtract it. Thing's going to stay the same. So we get a to the -1, b to the 2 minus -1, or 2 plus 1, which is 3. So let's say we move this up there. Now we add those and we get the same 3 as we did here, so it doesn't really matter. So this, because the a to the -1 is in the wrong place, we move it down there and it changes to positive, and we are done with number 80. And that's it for lesson 9.1.